Congressman Bart Stupak joins me live in his first cable network interview since the vote. Congressman Stupak, thank you so much for being here. Let me start with the criticism that you are receiving now from pro-life groups who were in your corner up until last night. And their first criticism, sir, is that they claim this executive order, which may clarify things a bit, isn't worth the paper it is printed on and can never trump congressional law. How do you respond?
Well, first of all, it is worth more than the paper it's written on, as court cases and history shows us that the executive order has the full force of law. It is just as good as having a law. Would I have liked to have had a law? Would I have liked to have had the Stupak amendment that was passed in the House in the Senate bill? Absolutely. But we can only get 45 votes in the Senate, 45 pro-life votes of the senators, so there is no way it could become law. So you're dealt with the Senate bill, which I do believe, especially in the community health centers, could provide abortions at those locations and actually pay for it with taxpayer funds. So in this executive order that we negotiated with the White House, they have unequivocally said there will be no abortions at the community health centers. They will not be paid for, and a number of other protections are put in. This is a very good executive order. As soon as the president signs it, which we expect tomorrow, it will have the full force and effect of law.
What is to stop this openly pro-choice president from reversing himself on this? We've seen him reverse himself on the other deals that were offered to get senators' votes in connection with this bill. What is to stop him from reversing himself on this executive order now that he's got your vote?
Well, that's why we've asked for it to be public. We will have a public signing of this document.
The Senate deals were public, too.
I know. And you're right, Megyn. There's nothing that would stop this president from a month from now, a year from now, 10 years from now, of repealing this executive order. But there comes a point in time when you have nothing to stop the abortions that you believe will happen in the community health centers, or at least a document to say, look, we promised, because it is a full force and effect of law, if the president would revoke it, there's nothing that would stop either pro-life groups or pro-choice groups from going to court and challenge this executive order, saying it should stay in force.
But Congressman Stupak, the response from your supporters would be, yes, there was something that would have stopped this, and that would have been your no vote. If you and your pro-life contingent of Democrats had voted no, Nancy Pelosi didn't have the votes. This thing passed by 219. She needed 216. Without you and your pro-life contingent, this would not have passed.
Well, by the time the vote came up, as I've always said, I had 12 members who were standing strong with me. We didn't have 12 members by the time we got to the end of the vote.
You had 4.
Probably about 4. You're right. But so you killed a bill, and we do not have health care. As you know, I've always said I want to see health care for the nation. Look, we've stayed true to those principles.
But you always said, Congressman Stupak, you did stay true to it. You always said you wanted health care reform, but you always said you were not going to vote yes if there was funding, public funding for abortion. That's why it's so confusing, because you're acknowledging that the president could reverse himself in this executive order, and you're acknowledging that if you hadn't voted yes with that contingent, the bill would have failed. So I'm trying to understand what did it.
Megyn, whether it's an executive order or even a statute, the next Congress, even this Congress, can overturn a law in the next 6 months. I mean, the only option you had was leave the Senate language or strengthen it to prevent abortions under an executive order. That's what we did. We stayed true to those principles. Or vote no. And when we got the executive order, the 3 pages that very clearly says Hyde stays in effect. The Hyde language of no public funding for abortion stays in effect. That one in the hand is always better than 2 in the bush. And in this case here, we stayed true to the principle, and at the same time, America won with a health care bill that will help them out.